Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Teresa and I am here with Collecting Collectors, our May topic of the month with Have Your Best Show. It's great to see you all. Today we're going to be going over, we're going to be taking what we've learned about branding in April, and we're going to be framing it out in a usable way that we can go onto our website, go into all of the marketing materials that we use in order to reach out into the world and bring in the collectors that most need us, most need our artwork. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I wanna just first start off by talking about what does collecting collectors mean? Why did I use the word collecting? And of course my tech once again is not flipping slides here, but I'm gonna just improvise while I try and fix this. Collecting was a very intentional word that I chose because I wanted to portray a sense of us actually thinking about who we want owning our artwork. Because if we can understand who we want, we'll understand what their needs are and what it is in their, what is the problem that we solve within their life. And I think one of the biggest problems that we as artists have is that we don't take the time to understand what problem we solve for people. And so I want to do that today with you with a structure that I have learned over this past month. I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of taking notes and trying to really come up with a framework that best talks about ways that we can figure out what the problem is that our customers have and how we can then take what we do and solve those problems. And in the Q&A the other day, we were talking in depth about that and about a book that I've been reading, and I suggest everybody read. It's a really great way to look at how to build your story around your brand and how to connect to people. And I'm going to be referencing this whole presentation, and it's called Building Your Story Brand, and it's a book by Donald Miller. So I just want to leave that up front because some of the content in here comes from that. The other stuff that we're going to be talking about is just sort of a filter of things that I've learned and that I've tried in my own business over time. So as I was just saying, the problem that most artists face is trying to figure out what their collectors' needs are and what problems their collectors have and what they can fill. So today we're going to talk about what those problems are. We're going to do it as a group in a way that makes your collectors think, yeah, that's me. Like I need your art in my life because you do this, and I can't wait to like live with your work every day. We're going to focus on how to best share that message, and then we're also going to plan our pivot so that we can help the most people with our art. And I want to talk to you specifically about this because over the past 6 weeks since we've been on home order, it's been a shock to all of us. And as artists, we've been sort of scrambling, like, how is this impacting us? How are we going to survive as artists? Our customers aren't buying right now. We're not a necessary item. We are expensive. We are a luxury. All of these thoughts that are going through our minds, we need to flush out, and we're going to do that today so that we can get past all that and come up with thoughts that are going to serve us and serve our customers. Because at the end of the day, we have the most amazing privilege where we help make people's lives better, but we need to know how to see that and how to think that every day. So I feel like I'm on a mission right now. I'm on a mission with myself every day. I come into my studio, I'm like, people need this. They're in their homes right now and they need to feel inspired, and they need to feel strength, and they need to feel like things are going to be okay. And I know that my work can do that. So I want to help everyone on this call today and anyone who's watching this uncover what it is about their work that's going to serve their customers and their collectors right now, because people need us. So I'm passionate about it right now. I'm getting a little worked up about it, but it's this is going to be really good. It's going to be really exciting. So before we get started, identifying what our customer, what they need from us and how we can best tell them that we can fill that. I want to really do a brain dump with you and come up with all of the thoughts that you are having right now in this current economy about selling artwork. So why don't you go ahead and take yourselves off of mute, and I am going to just start writing down what your thoughts are. You don't have to filter them out. You don't have to make them positive or negative. Just tell me what it is that you're thinking about right now. And if you don't want to say it, you can type it into chat too.
Yeah, well, I, for one, haven't been marketing at all to sell my art at all during this time.
Okay, can you tell me why? Like, what is your thought you're having about doing that?
Exactly what you were saying before. People have a lot of other issues that they have to deal with. A lot of people aren't working, they don't have money, and yeah, and especially in the beginning, I just didn't think it was the right thing to do.
Okay. What else, guys?
I have to say that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
When I sent out my recent newsletter, I sold 2 paintings and got a commission. So I'm feeling okay about things.
Awesome.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I have been sending out my newsletter, but I haven't been, well, I usually don't ask for any sales in my newsletter.
What other thoughts are you guys having about?
Well, I don't agree that people are not buying art right now. I think that art is being sold very strong. Well, as I understand, our customer are people that are pretty secure in their jobs. Don't you guys agree? And most of my customers still have a job. They can work from home. They do have a problem, like, they may want to organize a new office space. They've been looking at the empty walls for a while.
So you're feeling like there is opportunity to sell right now?
Oh, absolutely. I've been watching the trends. I received several newsletters from retail. Everything like home decor, the sales of home decor related, and including fine art, like these days, it went up amazingly. So people are not spending on clothing, on travel, on many other things that normally, people do. But food, home decor, like construction things, because like people decided, okay, we'll repair things in the house. People want to feel better in their environment.
Okay, great.
So I disagree that we should kind of like, feel discouraged. We really want to continue doing what we're doing, because this is what makes art makes people feel good.
Right. So I just want to say that, so we're just downloading our thoughts right now, and we're going to talk about how we can reframe the ones that need to be reframed and how to continue pushing those. So so I love that you just said art makes people feel better. Yes,
and everybody wants to feel better.
Okay. What other thought, like who's struggling with right now? Who's feeling like?
So I haven't been doing much marketing because I have just been so overwhelmed with everything else. And basically like the whole business side for me has been put on hold, right? Which has been very frustrating. And I just feel like, we're finally kind of getting into a new routine where I can start focusing back on work again, right?
I'm having a hard time keeping focused on the bigger picture. Like telling myself that even though maybe sales aren't happening for me right now, that I'm building towards making that happen. I think it's kind of a fear factor thing. Like I need to stay focused and I'm having a hard time doing it.
What would you say, like, why are you having trouble being focused right now? What would you say is the cause of that?
Well, I've got a lot of different things going on other than, you know what it is? I'm going to tell you what it is. Other than like fear of the economy, it's that I'm allowing a lot of other factors other than my own personal financial well-being to take priority in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
So priorities affecting,
Yeah.
um,
I'm giving my focus to a lot of other things besides my financial stability.
is it AFF or EFF? I always get that one wrong. Affect.
There's
It's A.
it's a verb, so it's A.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
A.
I always remember Raven, R-A-V, so it's affecting is the verb and effect is the noun.
Thank you.
Yes.
So are we talking about our feelings or our customers' feelings?
What are your feelings? And if I mean, you certainly can, maybe allude to what your customers are feeling, but right now I want to know what are your feelings right now about selling in today's economy? Good or bad?
One of the things that I've been thinking about in attempting to write a newsletter is making sure that it's positive, but also I am terrified of coming across as taking advantage of like a bad situation, that people are feeling bad. So, there's that we're all in it together, but there's also that I don't want my work to, I don't know what I know what I'm saying. I just don't feel like I'm saying it very well right now.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple questions about this, Marian, because I think would everybody agree that feeling like they don't want to feel like they're taking advantage or overstepping right now? Is that a
Yes.
common thought? Okay. So let's just say the circumstance is that selling your artwork. So C stands for circumstance, and that is selling your artwork. So it's basically, what is the fact today? Everybody will agree that selling your artwork is the circumstance. So your thought, Marianne, is that you're afraid of taking advantage. So your thought is that you'll take advantage of people. And when you think that, what are some of the feelings you have about that thought of taking advantage of somebody? How does that make you feel?
Oh, I don't want to do that.
But how does it make you feel?
You mean as far as like, what would I do? How could I market my work that would do that? Or
just the thought that you're taking advantage of people, what feelings does that have inside of you? Like, what does that do to you as a person? What feelings do you have?
it's not something that I would admire in another person, certainly, and it's not something that it's not part of my values.
So maybe it would make you feel like shame.
A shame, yeah.
Icky.
Icky,
Icky.
yeah.
Icky.
Icky.
Okay. And when you're feeling icky and ashamed, what action are you taking? Or inaction?
My inaction would probably be to try to back away from, if I realized that was happening inadvertently, I would try to back away from that. I maybe would have, I think I would avoid trying, I don't know, I think I would apologize if I felt that was the way somebody was perceiving my attempt at selling my work.
Okay. And when you're backing away, hiding, retreating, all of these things, what type of results do you get as it relates to selling your work?
I don't think that would help. I
Yeah.
would be very helpful. That's why I think if if that was a perception, I think coming out and owning it and apologizing would probably be a better, I don't want to say that's a strategy because this is a negative situation, it would be not a strategy, but you'd have, apologies need to be sincere as far as I'm concerned. And
Well, let me just ask you this. Do you truly believe that you're taking advantage of people by offering them your artwork right now?
no, I don't.
Yeah. So,
I've just been trying to compose a new, I think it's come up because I've been trying to compose a newsletter and I'm putting it off. And I think that there's been I've been looking at other advertising and seeing where that's happening, where it's at. It has nothing to do with people marketing their fine art. It's other products.
I think so many of us are stuck in this loop right now of we're assuming our collectors out there are in financial dire straits, and which is making us feel uncomfortable about putting a price tag on anything in front of their faces right now.
Yeah.
When the reality is they very well could need our work now more than ever, right? So our work in their homes could make them feel better, as we were saying earlier, could make them just feel stronger or just beautify their experience. So the thoughts that we're having right now, like, I don't want to take advantage of people, are being a disservice to you, obviously, because, we need to be selling work right now. This is in order for us to continue doing what we love to do. At the end of the day, we need to sell our artwork. We need to pay our bills, and we need to do this in order for us to keep going. Now, maybe not everybody is in the same situation. Maybe not everybody is financially dependent on selling their artwork, but I imagine everybody at this point could benefit from selling their work. So I want to take a look at this that we just did and come up with another thought that could go in that thought line that could change the result that we're getting from not selling into selling. Because what's going to happen is whatever the thought is that we're having, it's going to equal the result that we're getting. So in order for us to change our results, we need to change our thoughts.
Teresa?
Yeah.
Sandy says that she keeps feeling like people are buying commissions from her because they're worried about her and feel sorry for her.
Okay, so that's another really good one. Okay, so let's flush that one out because I think this is a good one. We'll do that one in a second. Before we go there, I want to, let me just refresh my tech here because it stopped working again. Let's talk about what we can put into that T line for selling our artwork that will make us feel good about going out there into the world. And maybe we don't run like, hey, let's something that we do on Black Friday, an event like that. That's clearly not what we're going to be doing today because that's not, it doesn't match the social situation, but we certainly should not be feeling badly about providing our customers with something that can make their lives better. So, Marianne, what would you like to think about selling your artwork right now? If you could just feel anything you wanted to feel, think anything you wanted to think.
Oh, I think that when the best feeling is when somebody if somebody buys my artwork because they feel that it belongs to them, it belongs in their house. They have a special place for it. And it makes them feel better, or it makes them feel good to look at it every day.
So you want to think that your collectors feel better with your art.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how does that make you feel, knowing that your collectors feel better with your art?
It makes me feel happy.
What else?
Satisfied. You know, I know that I'm not the first person to come up with this, but I know people often refer to their artwork as their children. You know, they have to send them out into the world, and they make the world a better place. And
What about like purposeful?
purposeful and yeah. That, well, I know I don't know who else was talking about how there's a lot, I mean, right now during the pandemic, there's a lot of people focusing on their homes, on their environment, and how they want to make it feel better for themselves.
I'm telling you, I received an email from Bill Jersey. He's a local artist. I've known him for quite a number of years. And he sent an email saying, hey, like the virus ate my show. So I made all those like 30 paintings. Would you guys like to take a look at them? You know, I will be selling them for, I don't know, like $100 each. He made like small paintings.
Sorry, guys.
He was sold out by the end of the day, people. I wrote him like the next morning, I emailed him that I wanted 2 pieces. He said like, oh, I don't have any more. I was so happy to see his email. I am an artist, but I also collect work. And I thought, oh, this is wonderful. I'll have like, he's a great artist. It's a, you know, it's a small painting, but you know, a significant birthday of my friend is coming up. I thought I'll have a present for her. It's thinking out of the box. He didn't sit there like sulking. He just had this work. He emailed to his friends and customers, and everybody was happy, including him.
Right. Okay, so Marianne, so when you're coming from a place of feeling happy, you're feeling purposeful, you're feeling satisfied, you're having these thoughts, and then you need to take action. What kind of actions do you take when you're coming from that place, from that feeling?
What kind of actions would I take?
And as it relates,
meaning, I'm the thing that comes up in my mind first is that I want to go back in my studio and paint some more.
yeah, right, because you're feeling like your work is you're being of service to your collectors that you're
right.
helping. Yeah, and as a result of you painting more, what happens?
Well, that meets my personal need, you know, of needing to be painting and thinking about what images that I want to make.
Mm-hmm. Are you just hoarding all those images? Or are you posting about what you're working on? Are you getting?
I'm terrible at this, so I've got way too much stuff in my studio, and I wouldn't say, well, hoarding is close.
Well,
so I need to let people know what's in here and what's available.
Sure, because you're thinking that they're going to be better off. Their lives will be better with your work in their lives, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be much more apt to want to share that with them if you're coming from that thought versus going from the thought of your initial thought, which was you're taking advantage of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thoughts matter right now. The thoughts matter all the time. The thoughts really matter right now when we're all in this crazy land that nobody knows what's going on and we don't know what our futures look like. The thoughts really, really matter. So Sandy, so say again, what was your thought you're having about being in the studio?
Well, the thought that I was sharing, because I felt like it was sort of along the initial lines of what we were talking about, was that I have had, we were talking about that icky taking advantage of people feeling. I have had many people approach me saying, I really want that commission piece now.
Mhm.
And, people use language like, because I do give like established collectors or very good friends, like a price break, and people are using language with me like, I want to pay you full price, like da da da. And in my heart, I know that these people that I've been having these conversations with love my work and appreciate my work, and also care about me, but my mind keeps spinning around to, they don't really want to buy this painting now. They just want to find some ways to give me money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like it's a mind game. It's a mind game that I'm playing with myself, because I know these people love my work.
Yeah. So when you're in that like weird space though, when you're thinking like people are feeling sorry for me, that they're just giving me money because they think I need money versus loving my work, what do you feel like? What are your feelings about that?
My initial feeling, what I would actually say is, sometimes I feel a little embarrassed,
Mhm.
because I haven't been in this kind of situation. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. No. So absolutely. I can definitely see how that could feel that way. When you're embarrassed, what actions are you taking towards your goal of selling work right now?
I back away. Yeah.
How do you back away?
I don't follow through on the offers that people have made me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which not only doesn't get you sales right now, but it also may impact your relationship in the future, because these people are like, hey, I want to give you money right now, and you're not even responding to me.
Right.
So,
Right.
and so the result is, no sale, possibly damaged relationship, right? Okay. So,
Yes.
so this is not serving us, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. So then let's go over to the intentional model over here, and let's craft a better thought that we can have that's going to make you feel better about this. So you said when you were telling me this story that that people love your work, right? What kind of thought what can we craft here that you can believe? And the key here is you believe it. So if we have to baby step into it, but you genuinely need to believe this thought so we can get your mind out of this like loop.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that I need to believe the fact and feel good about the fact that having artwork, or my artwork, is going to bring joy to these people. It's going to build a connection with me that I want and those people want. And also, I don't know who was saying it earlier, but I did have a friend buy a piece, and she was like, I've wanted to buy a piece forever. I'm not spending money on anything else now, so now I can buy a piece. And that gave her joy. Yeah. So it's just me having to say, this is okay.
Like you literally have evidence of that thought from what she said.
Like she literally said to me, I had been wanting to buy a piece. I didn't have the money. Now I do, so I want to buy a piece.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're coming from a place of thinking that your work brings joy, how are you feeling?
It brings me joy. And it actually, the word I kept thinking about when Marianne was talking was validated.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I feel validated.
Great. So you're feeling validated. What else?
I would feel validated. I feel more confident that I stuck with the right path, you know, choosing to be an artist, like to get a little loosey-goosey with it.
Okay, so you're coming from a place of confidence
Yeah.
that your work brings joy to people. What are you doing as a result of that?
When I feel that way, I get more motivated and tend to get back on track. Like after I made that sale, I immediately started working on my website again, started reaching out to people. Like I started making, for a couple days, myself a priority, which, you know, sometimes I think is a difficult thing for
Yeah,
people to do.
absolutely. And when you're doing those things, what's happening as a result?
I'm feeling better about myself, which again makes me feel more confident, and it makes me feel less worried about the future, and it helps me to see a long-term goal.
Okay, so those are thoughts. Like, what is actually happening as a result of you being on your website, being more motivated, in the studio, maybe calling people on social media? What's happening as a result of that?
Well, hopefully I'm going to be generating sales.
Sales, and people are experiencing joy because of it, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So it's a nice little, so this proves this. It's always going to be a loop there.
Yeah. And I have been gaining followers on social media, so that's good too.
Good, good. So when we're stuck in these thoughts that limit us, which I know I have them all the time. I catch myself thinking of these things all the time. When we were on our last call with Cynthia, when we were talking about selling, there was a whole conversation about not that feeling bad about going out into the world. And then I started questioning, like, should I be feeling bad? And that sort of stuck in my head, like, I shouldn't be sending stuff out right now. I should just wait it out. And that doesn't serve anybody. It serves nobody to do that.
Sure.
And so let's just agree that when we have those thoughts, we're going to just write them down and make a little list of these thoughts so we can acknowledge them and know we're having, you don't have to push them away, just acknowledge them and be like, you know, this is not serving me today. And replace that thought with something that will serve you. Even if it's like a thought that just bridges you up from, I'm just working, I'm believing that my work is really needed right now, is better than having a negative thought about what people might be perceiving of your work. So does anybody have any questions, or is anybody stuck on a thought that they want to just hash out really quick? Okay. If anybody wants to like sidebar, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help work through anything like this, because this is the root of how you're going to be able to collect more collectors. I promise you, if you can identify those thoughts and work past them and create positive momentum, you're going to collect more collectors and you're going to sell more work. Okay, so I'm going to bounce back over to the presentation, and we're going to talk for the remainder of the time today about creating a one-liner, as Donald Miller says, or a positioning statement, which is how we described it last month, or an elevator pitch. There's a million different ways to say it, but there's one statement that we are going to craft, that we are going to use. We're going to memorize it. We're going to use it over and over again. We're going to put it on our website, on our business cards. We're going to put it on the back of our artwork, on the little, like, whatever you put on the back of your artwork to give to people, you're going to put that on there so that you have consistent messaging and that you're clear about what it is that you do to help your customers. Because when you get clear about what it is that your work can do to help solve their problems, suddenly you don't have those thoughts anymore about what your role is in your collectors' lives and whether or not you do actually help them. Because once you can write it down and you say it over and over again, and you have evidence built up about that, then it becomes like second nature to you. So here's the example I have for 25 Days of Minis and what the one-liner is. In this season of giving, most people find it challenging to choose meaningful gifts for the people that they love. Each day in December, 25 Days of Minis brings you a brand new collection of small original art to your inbox while you sip your morning coffee, making it fun and easy to give gifts that get cherished. So what I did there was I broke down the 25 Days of Minis into a problem, what the problem is that the 25 Days of Minis collectors have, the solution to that, and then what the result is. Okay, so we're gonna do that today for everybody's business. Now, since we're all artists, this is gonna be really great because I think we're gonna be able to bounce ideas off of each other, because I think there's going to be many similarities across the board about what collectors' problems are. They will all need to be refined. They should not be universal, because my artwork is going to solve different problems than somebody else's artwork. And it's in those tiny little details that you're going to be able to go out to the world and collect those collectors that are specifically going to like light up with joy that your work is fulfilling their problem. But overall, having this group together work on this project, we're going to be able to really help each other out and get everyone in the right place. So if you have your worksheets, great. Open up to the page that has the one-liner at the top. If you don't, just a piece of paper and a pencil is perfect. And I just want you to either yell out or in chat, tell me some problems you think your collectors have as it relates to our artwork or to your artwork.
I don't have any wall space left.
Okay. So that is an objection to buying work. So what I'm looking for is problems, and I guess that could specifically be a problem if you make small artwork only. So that would be like a 25 days problem. But think more general about what your customers need that your artwork can fill. So I know, Sandy, for you, I know you well enough to make a couple of leaps here, is that your artwork changes the way people perceive beauty, right?
I hope so.
A problem that your collectors might have is wanting to fill their house with things that are not typically beautiful but resonate with them, or some things that are not, maybe they're looking for untraditional beauty or different perspectives on the human figure or something along those lines that can help.
I literally just wrote, I love your work, but I can't have a nude in my home.
Okay. Who has some ideas on what their collectors' problems might be?
I'll talk.
Yeah.
A big piece that I try to address all the time is that people feel that their memories are fading and they're losing sense of their past.
Yeah.
So I keep memories alive.
Great.
But I want it to be more than that. I want it to inspire people through their memories. So images of the past have happiness, which then can make them feel better about who they are today.
What else, guys?
So I think right now,
That's a wonderful thing, Marjolaine. That's not I don't see that as a problem. Am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, you are. So it's they have their problem, their need is to resolve fading memories. So the problem is fading memories. Marjolin can step in with her work to prevent.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's not your problem, it's their problem.
That I don't understand anything. Sorry, thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
What else, guys? What else do you have?
I think right now people are worried and anxious about the world situation.
How does that problem relate to your product or service, though?
Well, when going back to my my positioning statement, my art engages their minds to help them decompress.
So maybe their problem is they are looking for some just positive distraction.
Okay, sounds good.
I have a comment about the memories thing, because that's like a kind of a big one for me in terms of my reason for art making. But in the perspective of the buyer, they may not always, and this is true for any piece really by anyone, not everyone will connect to that particular memory or that image. And, you know, maybe they're, you know, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here, but I guess that might be going back to our previous conversation about what is hesitating, you know, my art making, other than the fact I alluded to on my post earlier that I'm teaching online, but just the memory, will they connect to the memory? Like, or will it just be you know, are they looking at it, you know, how, you know, in terms of a more tactical nature of how that was made? Like maybe, I guess the problem, to answer the question, might be they're not responding necessarily to, like, say, if I change my art style, that
Okay.
type of thing.
So okay. So what is it that you're, so I want you to actually think of somebody who's bought your artwork, Krista, and tell me what it was that your artwork did for them. How did your artwork make their life better or experience better, or how did it improve something for them?
I think it might be the upbeat nature of the theme of the piece.
Okay.
You know, you know, I generally am upbeat in general, but you know, sometimes I don't always want to paint things that are upbeat. Maybe I want to paint things that are a little bit deeper, you know. So that would be a problem for an existing client.
Well, it would mean that there was more than one body of work, and I think the biggest goal would be to figure out what the overarching theme is or need is that your artwork fills. I think there's room for you to play around, or if you're doing two totally separate bodies where you have one body that's sort of optimistic and then another body that's more serious, you would be marketing to two separate groups of people, essentially. Got it. Fine too. You would basically have a one-liner for each body of work. Okay.
Okay.
So just pick one for now, maybe the one that you're most connected to, or one that you feel like you're going to be working in more often, and focus in on that work and determine what it is about that work that can help your collectors with something in their life. So help them feel better, help them achieve more status, help them feel like they belong, all of the primal needs that people have in life. You have to just figure out what it is about your art and tie that into one of those needs. And that's going to help your buyers connect with you. So right now we're just trying to establish what those needs are. For my work, I noticed a theme. Some of my biggest collectors are people who have sort of come from humble beginnings and grew into successes. So they've had this transition in their life and they've worked really hard. And that's something that it's a theme in my work, is this like growth through grit. And so I think my customers like to be reminded of that, of the work that they put in to get where they were. So that's something that I'm going to talk to in my marketing when I'm going into the world. So the more specific you can get, it might feel counterintuitive, where you're thinking, gosh, I don't want to like market this because this person over here is not going to get this. What you want to think is, I'm going to market like this because all of these people over here are going to be screaming from the rooftops, yay, she gets me. She totally can, she understands who I am as a human, and I need to have that in my life. So we're setting aside the people that don't have any connection in favor of finding those people that you're speaking to their souls. Because those are the collectors that are going to be lifelong collectors, and they're going to be your best advocates in life and through your business.
So I know so the problem in my case, just for this, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. I'm sorry, I don't mean, so the problem is that the collector could never see themselves or a certain part of their lives as beautiful, but I am showing them that they can be.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
I'm reading the way I wrote this, and I think that this word is bad, and I'm going to just put in, what need do most of my collectors have as it relates to my work, meaning like what you just said, having your work, say it again, what you just said today, Sandy.
That my collectors couldn't see, they didn't necessarily know how to feel, I know I'm not saying the same thing, beautiful themselves or see beauty in certain things. I said it much better a minute ago.
No, so it's
but I can show them that they can be beautiful.
Yeah, you're basically giving them the sense of belonging. Like they feel like they are seen and that they can be beautiful too.
There you go.
Yes.
I get it now.
Who's stuck? Who needs to have a little group help here when you're thinking about what your work needs or what your collectors need?
I was going to chip in. I started to write down the problem or the need, and I realized there was the solution. So I think the need that a lot of people have right now, or that have, is cabin fever, or just being inside. Because what I started to write down was provide a visual escape, a respite, or a memory. And it's funny how everyone's talking about memories. I like to do that because I like to be outside, and it makes me feel good when I look at, I'm sitting in an office and I can, I'm looking above my computer monitors here, and I see a painting of a canoe out on the water, and beautiful field. So it's an escape, even though I'm sitting in an office chair surrounded by monitors.
Yes, an escape. That's beautiful, beautifully said.
Yeah, and the connection to others, I think, is like that needing to belong is, I think, a big thing for me, especially like, when I do the bugs that are just kind of like weird and out there, to get that connection that someone else finds interest in, like these weird oddball things as well, Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, how did, like, this is exactly what I would do, create this bug, and this is exactly how I would want to perceive it. How did she know this is exactly how I wanted it? Yeah. What else? Who else wants to go? I think we're on a roll. Lee, when we were on the Q&A, you were talking a lot about your dance and your joy. And what do you think your collectors really are looking for in response to your art?
Yeah, well, I think what you said before, needing a positive distraction is good. Okay. And also bringing joy, bringing the joy of music and dance visually.
Okay. Great. Okay, does anybody else want to weigh in here?
Juanita wrote in the chat that people want to feel alive and engaged and happy when they walk in the door.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, I was thinking about when Michael was talking, you know, like the visual respite. It's also, I just lost my, like looking at work like his, it can give people a sense of peace, like not necessarily just joy, but a sense of peace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure most of you or all of you probably have other people's artwork in your home, and maybe think about what that artwork does for you, and then think about how that same feeling or a feeling like it can be what your collectors feel. I know every morning when I get my coffee, I drink it out of a mug from an artist that I met on the circuit. And every single time I do, it makes me so happy. I feel connected. I feel connected to the artist. I feel connected to the earth. I feel like I'm supporting people in art. And all of those feelings happen just because I pour my coffee into it. And your artwork does the same thing, but in a certain way. You're going to see there's going to be a consistency in why, what the problems are that your artwork fills. When you start really dissecting who your collectors are, who buys your work, and what it is that thing is. There is something there that connects. And if you can identify that clearly, then you can find more people just like those collectors through the words you use on your website and in all your marketing. Okay? All right, so we're going to move to the solution next. So we have part one of our one-liner. The solution is the second part. So think about what your work does to fulfill that need. So Sandy, if your work is helping, would you say women were primarily your, is it mostly women who buy your work, or is it across the board?
No, it's kind of a nice mix, and oftentimes I'm thinking about this too. Like a husband will commission his wife, and the wife is shy about it, but it brings them together to have this piece of art that I created for them together.
Okay, great. I'm going to put that maybe connection. Which I think, we already have that as well. Yeah, that's a big one. But the solution, so the solution for your work, what is it that you do in your work to help solve the problem of needing to belong, or needing to feel seen, or however it is you want to describe that, or needing to be accepted? Maybe accepted is the word there. I'm not sure, but what is it that your work does?
Wow. Okay. It gives people, I keep going back to the beauty word, but it gives people a different perspective on what is beautiful. It gives,
how does it do that?
It does it through like the line and the movement and the fluidity.
Yep.
I put into, I'm just speaking of my figurative work, that the line, the movement, and the fluidity that I can incorporate into the gestures, the portraits.
Yeah. So I'm just spitballing out here, but this is how this could potentially look. Oftentimes people equate beauty with ads on TV, magazines, but what I want to explore in my work is what real beauty is. The human, the regular human, the regular woman, however you want to say that, in real life. And I can do that through my use of line and movement and fluidity. So you start by positioning what the overall problem is. So people are feeling like they don't fit in to all of these standards that are out there in the real world. But what I want to do is celebrate the real person, the real woman. And I can do that by doing this.
Yeah. I mean, on my website, part of my statement is celebrating curves.
Yes.
See, you guys, she's good at this. Somebody else needs to play besides me.
You're almost inviting them to kind of reevaluate how they see themselves.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. You want to hook them with that like, you know, that there's so much pain out there when you see these women being celebrated and they don't eat and they don't, you know, they're starving themselves, or they're just trying to live up to these unreal expectations. Let's change the narrative, and I can show you how to do this, and I can fill your home, your sacred home where you live every day. I can fill them with figures that celebrate people like that, and you're going to feel so good as a result of having my work in your home.
You make me cry.
Who else wants to go?
Yeah, somebody else. Come on, people.
Anybody? All right, tell me somebody. So Marjolaine, tell me, what is the solution your artwork provides for people who are like don't want to lose their memories, or they're fearful of fading memories?
The solution is to, so I work, it's not so much about the memory that I try and emphasize in the work, it's about the inspiration and empowerment pieces of it. So that is the big umbrella, and then the memory piece is an entry point or a vehicle or a tool in order to get into that. So instead of doing pieces that are these strong feminist radical rallies, which is what I really want to paint, I create pieces that are women riding on bikes and have, you know, subliminal text in there like Pathfinder, that kind of thing. So it is a way for me to say memory is it, but it's more about inspiring and finding a way to empower themselves in their life today.
Okay, that's amazing.
That's the question?
Yeah, for sure. So empowering, yeah, so empowerment. So when you say memories, when you're in your actual work, what would constitute a memory? Is it vintage photos to elicit a feeling of memory? Is it actual photos? Is it like, what is it that equates that memory in your
Right.
work?
So it's all the above. So I work from the premise of, you know, when you get married, something old, something blue, something borrowed, that kind of thing. So I try and work actual materials into the piece, embed it with past memory ephemera pieces, vintage wallpapers or postcards. And then the images themselves are also from the past. So postcards, I never use personal imagery, never use old photos from my family, never do any of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So because, and I think Christy was talking to this about a little bit earlier, I want it to be a universal memory. I don't want it to be specifically mine. So that's why I work with the solutions to get to that point. I work with stuff that we're sharing. So letters, handwritten letters, postcards, things that we already are used to having in our life.
Okay. So, and the purpose of using those things is to inspire and empower. Yes?
Yes, so I situate them within, like if I use a postcard of a hotel from Holiday Inn from 1950s, which are usually women sitting by the pool, I will then title it with a Maya Angelou poem, a phrase from there like phenomenal woman or still I rise. So it sets the context of that piece within this place of escape and joy and fun. At first look, oh, look, it's beautiful. But the more you read into it, you go, oh, it's kind of a pretty strong feminist statement.
Okay.
And what's been really interesting with that is that it's men who really like those pieces more than women. Women are really hesitant about buying anything that has a strong feminist view because they don't want to make their husbands feel uncomfortable. So the men are the ones who are like, oh, I really like that. What do you think about that? And she's like, yeah, I like it. That's good.
So you're not only empowering through your work, but you're also empowering as a result of your work. Like women see your work and okay, awesome. So my question, going back up to your problem, because I know so fading memories is like your that's like your drip. That's like you've got your market there and it's just turning, but that's not exactly what you want to be doing. So let's table that and go into the thing that lights you up. What does lack of empowerment mean in your collectors' lives? So what is that thing you want to, so what's the opposite of empowerment?
Feeling, not feeling any control.
Okay.
Not being able to define your life, not being able to do what you want to do because of whatever reason. Being told you can't do, I mean, it really comes way back. All my work goes way back to the point when I realized that as a woman, I would never make as much money as a man. And I got really pissed at that.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
So
that's
the key.
This is awesome. Okay, yeah. So you could start by saying something actually quite personal. So your one-liner could, I'm just throwing this out there based on what you just said was, we live in a world where women still do not make as much money as men. My work takes a stand against anything like this by empowering women through the use of blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're setting the stage, and that is an aggressive, like you're basically going to say, you either love me or you don't want to come in to see me when you come in with a line on that. But that's going to grab so many people's attention and they're going to know exactly what you stand for. And it's powerful. So many people are going to grab onto that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, I've gone back and forth about that. I have a big issue with how women are hesitant about buying my work because it's too feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've learned in the marketing materials and how I speak about my work in the booth, and even how I try and sneak it into the work, that the gender issues have to be a second piece to talk about. So I will start with the memory piece, and then I'll come in.
You're like, wait, come back here. I have this curtain and let me show you what's behind the door.
Yeah, because, you know, men, we don't want to feel men feeling hated. We don't want that. I mean, nobody wants that. I don't want that. I don't hate men. That's not the issue. It's just that if I work, when I first started, Teresa, I worked from what you said. I worked from, this is a feminist based type of work. I got nothing. I couldn't sell it.
Well, and if your thoughts around that are that it's not working, it's not connecting, that you're having trouble, like those are all limiting thoughts that are not going to allow you to really open up and express yourself.
Right.
So, you know, you can choose to work through that and then just blow it out, or you can choose to go, like you said, like where you're meeting your customers where they are right now and bridging them into this other world that you can offer them that can,
Yeah.
you know, change their lives in these other ways. So
I think, don't you think it's also about knowing your personal, I mean, you have to know who your collector is, right? And I know my collector is usually a couple that's over the age of 45, 50, although this online buying that's happened the last few weeks with me has been really interesting because it's been younger buyers, like 40 or so, late 30s, 40s. And those people, I don't know if I can change my message and be more like pop out, because I think the older crowd are a little bit scared. The younger crowd might be a little bit more going, okay, that's much more important, like being much more political. I think would probably, I agree with you, would probably pull in a crowd that I don't necessarily attract right at the start.
And that's the beauty of where we're at right now. I hesitate to say anything positive about the fact that people are dying, and like, I don't want that to be the message I'm saying right now, but
yeah.
I do want to say we are in a very unique situation where we can rewrite our story in so many ways.
Yeah.
And we can go out there and collect all these new collectors in areas that we've never. So there's nothing saying that you can't continue to use words with your current body, or your current collectors, with your Fading Memories body of work. But why the heck not go out there and do some targeted marketing and just test it out and see what happens, because it is such a new world right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, actually. Yeah, nobody likes to be rejected. We all like to be loved by everybody.
Amen. But we're not going to get there with that. So
just love me. So.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to hash this out?
Juanita said that she feels hesitant to say what they will feel like because maybe they won't. Like she'll have to prove that it's a true statement somehow if she does make that inference that her pieces will make people feel a certain way.
As it relates, Juanita, can you clarify, like, in what part are you talking about?
Hold on.
Sure.
I'm unmuted. It's just, I don't want to make a promise and then it not turn out to be true. That's the thing.
In your marketing, you don't want to say to them, I'm going to make you feel joy, and then have them get home and like, where the hell is the joy? Is that what you're not? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we certainly don't want to overpromise, and I agree with you. That's not the right way to do it. But we can phrase and use words that can indicate. So let me just ask you this: what do you think your artwork does to make your collectors' lives better?
I have no idea, because they're not buying straight from me, and the gallery never tells me anything about who buys what.
Okay.
So I don't really know.
How would you define your work? What would you like your collectors to experience as a result of owning your work?
Well, I would like them to experience all. I've walked in a home before where they had art on the wall, which I'm not used to having that happen, and the art, I was just totally captivated by it and excited by it. And then I walked in another home one time, and they had art on the wall over their sofa. It's the first thing, the home just felt so, I would say, alive. I don't know. It just felt like a place I want to be. But that could just be me. Not all humans might feel that way if they walked in and somebody's art's on the wall. It turns out it was their child's artwork, which was really good, like a teenager or something. And it does something to me. I don't know if it does something to everybody.
Well, it doesn't do something to everybody, and that's okay. What you're looking to do is go out with your words and find the people that it could do that for. So, yeah. So what do you think the opposite of feeling alive is?
Bored. Okay, same old, same old. Everything's the same. I'm go to work, it's the same. The traffic's the same. I come home, I eat food, whatever, the same food. Then I watch TV. Then I go to bed.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that's how a lot of people's lives are that way.
Yeah.
And
Yes. You just said it perfectly. A lot of people's lives consist of them getting up and going to work and coming home and doing the same thing day in and day out. I do not believe that life is too short to live this way, and that is why I paint what I paint, or I make what I make. I've never even seen your work yet, so I have to look at it. But that is a perfect way to start off a one-liner. Life is too short to live a boring life, and that's why I paint. This is what I paint, and this is what I create. And you can go in and describe what it is that you do uniquely with your work to ensure a lively interaction, whether they're at home or in their office or however you want to phrase that. Does that make
but
sense?
see, I can't ensure they're going to have a lively interaction.
No, you certainly can't, but you're opening up the door for people who might feel like, yeah, my life really, it's not really that exciting. And I really certainly would like to check out her work, because maybe she's got something that would turn my house into something more lively. And you're not forcing this artwork down their throats. You're just opening the door to them to see it.
So it's a seed for thought for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Like maybe that would make a difference. Maybe, maybe like that. The person might feel that possibility.
Yeah.
Just for saying that.
Words matter. The words you say create images for people and create pathways for people and give them framework around certain things. Marianne, the other day, she said, well, yeah, my work's all about relationships. And I've had her work in my gallery and I've sold many of her pieces, and my brain didn't do the work to figure that out, because it takes some effort to figure out what the common denominator is for people's artwork. You think that everybody knows when they look at your work what you're thinking. They don't. They don't have the time, energy, or effort to figure out what it is that you were thinking when you were painting something. They just have an instinct, like, hey, I like this, I don't like this, I don't know why, but I just do. But when Marianne said, I paint relationships, it turned every one of those pieces, the ones that I sold, the ones that I had in my gallery for her, into a totally different experience for me. And it really made me understand her work so much better by her saying one word. This is the power that we have over how people perceive what we're doing. This is what's going to make us successful. This is what's going to sell our work in a much more dynamic way. When we don't do this, we're literally sitting there just getting lucky. Like, oh, this person found me, and it just was like a lucky chance that they found me and I sold a piece. Think about what would happen when we're proactive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you're sort of saying it's the power of suggestion. It feels like.
In not an icky way, right?
Oh, no, not at all. But I mean, that idea that people don't know why they like something I feel like is repeated a million times. Like every time I talk to someone, I just don't know. I just don't. But I like, and I think it's because art lives in a place, the imagery it lives in a place where words sort of don't. But words are the thing that we have. We all share. We all know how to use them. So we need to attach some words. And then it's like, right. Yeah, that's it. Yes. I mean, that's what it feels like you're saying partly. And are you saying
I'm 100% saying that. And then one thing, I'll share another, here's a shower thought. Everybody who knows me knows I have these shower thoughts, but. So,
you gonna fix that or not?
Yeah.
Because I've made
one of the things that I started thinking about as it relates to words around work and being able to clearly state what it is that you do and the problems you solve. Suddenly, as you're creating new work, you're creating work that fulfills those needs because you now have words around them in your head. So your work starts to take on a direction that maybe it wouldn't have if you did not put those words around it. I know for me, I was sort of shooting from the hip. Well, that looks good. I want to paint that. I want to paint, like you were just saying, Lisa, where I don't know why I wanted to paint it, but I did until I sat down and did the work to understand what it was that I was staying with my work. And now I have this ability to curate what I want to paint because I have words around what it is that I am doing and like what is the bigger picture I'm creating.
Right. So it's as important for us as it is for them,
Yeah,
for the customer.
I could have said it like that.
What?
I could have said it like that in a nice, succinct way. Sorry.
Oh. But I guess, yeah, I think in some ways, yeah, you're making that feel very positive instead of like dangerous, you know, like oh, I think of work coming from a place that is so free from any sort of perimeter, and you're saying, but a perimeter is great, you know, it can be a boundary that you can work against, you know, and then that can be something that ends up, you know, making your work more pointed.
You always have the ability to step out of the parameters to try something new, right? You always, but when you can put a boundary around something, it frees up that angst and you can channel that into creativity.
Yeah, that feels good. That feels really good. And I think of, like, the other day I had this visualization of you know, they talk about step outside the box or be in the box, you know, it's such an old saying. And I thought, well, maybe we should just have a transparent box. Like, you know, so we can live in it and still see outside. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, we've got our problem or need, right? We have our solution. Now we have to lay the most important part, which is painting the picture of what people's lives will look like once they own your work, once they bring it into their lives. So, Sandy's example, in a place where people, you know, in our world now where people feel like beauty is defined by the magazines, I go in and create these real women. I make beauty, I make people feel accepted because of their real life beauty through my use of line, movement, fluidity. I said it much more eloquently the first time, but stick with me. And then you could say something like, the result is going to be so women finally feel, or so that you finally feel like you are accepted and you finally feel free to live your life the way you want to, or something. I'm trying to fly off the.
Before you said change the narrative.
Yeah.
That really stuck in my head.
So you want to paint the picture of what that person who just changed the narrative, how their life is different as that final sentence in your one-liner. And this is what is going to bring the entire thing to life. For Marjolaine, what does it look like when you've empowered? So when that woman, the husband loved it, then the woman was like, but yeah, I really like that painting. And they bring it home and she sees that every day. How does her life look different? What is different for her?
Well, I think we all need image. I would hope that I contribute in having her just keep push forward and to solidify her vision of her world. So I think pushing forth every day and trying to push back at the status quo takes a lot of energy. So we look to Wonder Woman at times and go, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah,
I think that's where I might work with.
She's making her own decisions. She's leading her life or living her life in her own terms, maybe. Or you had said some words earlier that were great. I think you had said not being able to do what you want. The opposite of that would be really living the life of her design or something along those lines.
Yeah, not feeling controlled, not doing what's expected of you. I mean, you're a parent. As parents, I have a 16-year-old daughter. I spend every day trying to teach her how to defy odds and to push back at expectations. So imagery that has that as part of that is a tool. So I mean, last fall, I switched a little bit and I started doing street scenes that were a little bit more vintage flavor, 1950s street scenes with vintage wallpapers and whatever. And it was really interesting. I had a really hard time selling it. I thought I was working with a wider general kind of generic space, more accepting, designer kind of based. And in reality, I lost my message. And I lost that emotional connection, and I lost what you're talking about. There was no solution. What solution is that? That's to fill a space. Well, someone can go to IKEA and get the same thing. So I think the trick or the key is to find the vein, and the vein is just in those words that, like in the words I was talking about, like that sense of escape, empowerment.
And being and using a very specific example, or just using your words to really paint the picture of where they're at in a succinct way, which it's going to take. This is not something you're going to design in one sitting. This is going to be a document or a statement you're going to be coming back to day after day until it feels right, and then you can say it and have it come off your tongue, in a very easy way. So who else wants to talk about what you hope your collectors' lives look like once they own your art? Juanita, you had mentioned this idea of being alive. So what does alive, how could you say somebody's living a life that's been sort of amplified?
Well, I'm bad about having artwork on my wall, but I do have some artwork now on my wall. So when I look at it, every time I look at this really cute painting this person did, that they gave it to me because I liked it. Every time I saw it, I mentioned it, and they just said I could have it because we were at a workshop. And then I just, sometimes when the TV's on, I'm sitting right in front of that and I'm not even watching the TV. I'm just looking at that. I can show it to you if you want to see it, but I'm sitting right here in front of it now. I look up at it and I sit and look at it and look at it and look at it. And then there's this other 12-inch or 10-inch painting I bought from a friend. And I liked the color. I just liked it. It was abstract. And next thing I noticed was, oh, it reminds me of my granddaughter in her red dancing dress. It looks just like a picture they have of her. It doesn't look exactly like it, but it just reminds me of it.
And how does
and when they come home, if they're looking at something that, it's almost like, I don't know, I'm rambling. I ponder the art. I don't just sit there and watch the TV, even though I'm there.
So you're becoming more maybe reflective, or you're really giving the art some thought. It's bringing life to your home. You're thinking about it. What does that result in? So what are the results of you really giving this art time to reflect on what you're thinking?
I don't think deep stuff.
You said earlier that you're feeling connected maybe to your granddaughter, right? Is it?
Yeah, and both of those paintings I was talking about do remind me of children, which I do love children.
Okay.
So, and I don't necessarily want family photographs all in front of me all the time. So this art that reminds me of them is really great because I can see their pictures on my phone anytime I want. And there's one that kind of reminds me of a pathway to a beach, even though there's no ocean or anything in it. But I just, it just feels better than looking at the blank wall. I don't know why. It feels better.
So would the word engaging be on the right track? Like you're being engaged by something? Because you mentioned like you can sit in front of a TV, but you'd rather be looking at that painting because it makes you ponder, and so your mind is engaged. You're thinking about things that you've experienced and those connections.
Well, maybe it's like what somebody else said about it kind of gives you a break for a minute, like in an office, like you're doing this and you look up and it kind of gives your mind and your eyes a break. Whereas usually on TV, it's something.
So
if your husband's watching, it's something kind of not exactly happening.
So when you take a pause and you're sort of taking a break, it probably triggers you to breathe and feel relaxed. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also when you walk in the door after you've been somewhere that everything's all prints and stuff, and you walk in the door, it just feels like uplifting. You feel like, oh, what a relief, something different. It's just different. It's a juxtaposition to life, sort of.
Yeah. So that's great. So a result of you having original art in your house, Juanita, would be that it gives you an opportunity to take a mini vacation every day when you look at it. Or so you can use those types of words, because hearing mini vacation would indicate that you're feeling relaxed, that you are taking a break, and people can really quickly identify with what that would be. So that would be maybe something you want to have in that last statement there for artwork that makes you ponder or gives you pause.
You could say a visual vacation.
Visual vacation, I'm going to write that down. I love that. Which, and you would just want to make sure that you turn that into a feeling. So I'm such a bad writer and talker at the same time here.
Right, visual vaccination.
Here's the cure.
Woo! Awesome. Yeah. So just tie that in, a visual vacation that tie it into a feeling. To go back to the sample that I used for, it's on the other one, for 25 Days of Minis. Lisa, I changed it up a little bit, so don't be offended. In this season of giving, most people find it challenging to choose meaningful gifts for the people they love. That's the problem. Holiday shopping sucks, especially when you want to get something really awesome. Each day in December, 25 Days of Minis brings you a brand new collection of small original art to your inbox while you sip your morning coffee. That is how we do it. That is the solution to the problem. We bring you new art every day. You don't have to do a damn thing. And then the result is making it fun and easy to give gifts that get cherished. Easy for you, they're cherished by them. So it fulfills all of those three things and paints a really nice picture for the people to imagine what their loved ones look like when they're cherishing something. Lisa, what do you think? Is that all right? Change it
Yeah,
up.
I like the brevity. It's shorter and of course it sounds like it's in your words. So it's yeah, it's great.
We'll chat offline. So, okay, questions, guys, on this part of it? No? Okay. All right, we're nearing the end of today. I know this was a lot, which is why I wanted to break up this. I knew going into it when I was doing the workbook that this was not a one-day workshop. So what I did was I broke up this into every Friday of May. And I know that seems like a lot of workshop. They won't all be this long. But this is, oh gosh, this is the heartbeat of what we're doing. We're selling artwork, and this is how we're going to sell more artwork. So I hope that you guys will check us out on Fridays. We're going to do it Fridays at 2. And of course, I'll be posting the video after the fact. So if you can't watch it then, you can check it out later. We also have, let me just jump back in here really quick. Okay, back over to my work spreadsheet. Okay, in your workbook, there's a list of different places. Once you nail down what your one-liner is, you can put it there. Also in the group, if you guys want to post your one-liners, I'm going to just set up a thread for that in the group so you can post what you're working on and we can weigh in and help you if you need some clarity around anything. And then during the week, once you nail down what your one-liner is, you can start updating your website with it. I want to tell you that the key in your one-liner is that result section, that very last line, what the lives of your collectors look like once they have your work. All roads lead to that. So it's a great primer for you when you're trying to decide on imagery that, in addition to your own artwork, if you want to supply some imagery of happy people or people enjoying work, that you make sure that it is in line with that results line instead of just going stock photo. You really want it to paint the picture that you painted in your one-liner. You can weave it into your artist statement. Obviously, you want to sort of trim it down in a way that doesn't feel like your one-liner, but use things from your one-liner throughout your artist statement. It can help drive that, your bio, your about page. Memorize it, because this is what you say to people when they ask what you do. And then I told you a little bit about what we're going to be doing this month. We're going to split it up into 5 different weeks. Once my computer catches back up again, I'll just tell you really quick. Next week, we're going to talk about your website. We're going to break it down and come up with a plan to get your website in line with the collectors that you want to be buying your work. The 15th, we're going to go over email. We're going to be talking about setting up an email funnel. We're going to talk about how to create a lead generator for your website in order to get more emails. And then on the 22nd, we're going to be talking about all things that are not website and email, such as social media. And finally, May 29th will be a recap, like a Q&A, and we can go over any other things that people are stuck on. So that's the bulk of it. This week, continue to work on your one-liners, post them in the group, and use the checklist that's in the workbook to go over your website. So when you come to the website meeting next week, you have a general idea of the areas that you really need to work on. You just need to take notes. If you want to take action, go for it. But right now, it's mostly just notes. And then I put a website review list in your notes as well in your workbook, so that it talks about what are the things that you really want to be focused on your website. What are the important parts of that? And then finally, and then I'll let you guys go, is there was a request for me to post journal prompts in the group. I journal most days about things, and it gives me a lot of clarity on just the direction I want to take and how I'm thinking about things. It's been a huge help in my life. And I got through my artist statement through journaling. I got through a lot of this marketing and branding stuff through journaling. So I'm going to start posting journal prompts one a day. I'm going to start with just 30 days, and I'm going to do it as a group. So I'm just going to basically set up a group in groups called I don't know, a prompt a day or something like that. I haven't quite figured that out. So if you want to just subscribe to that, you'll get notified when I put new prompts there every day, and feel free to interact with those. And then I'm going to be doing a 25 days of minis info meeting next Thursday. The application goes live, I think then. We're waiting on one thing that I need to have fixed on the application. And that's going to be opening then. So I'll be putting up an event in the space so that you guys can jump on if you want to check that out. Obviously, everything will be recorded. And finally, I just wanted to say that the group is your group. So feel free to go on anytime you want. Hit the plus button, add an article, post your thoughts about something, share. If you're stuck on something, feel free. It is your group, and it is yours to use to become better, to learn, to share. So please use it. It's available, okay? Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I love to talk about this stuff, and I am so excited to be working with all of you and improving ourselves and getting more collectors as a result of it. So feel free, reach out anytime. Is there any questions before we go?
Michael wants to know what the CTFAR sequence is that you're using.
It's called The Model, and it is, you can learn more about it by going to thelifecoachschool.com. And it's a model that the woman who runs that school created in order to work through thoughts and to how to change thoughts in order to affect results. And it's awesome. Anybody else? Okay, awesome, guys. So good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to see everybody's one-liners.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Teresa.
See ya.